suddenly cleared today. Looked outside, saw a little bit of the sun in the sky. That was great to see. After 4 days of rain and 2.5 inches of rain in the local area over that time, which is an incredible amount for this area in the central coast of California. The sky opened up and started to clear, and now we're getting a little bit of that clearing in our area of California, which is really good for launch.
Yeah, and watching that beautiful sunset as we were driving out here this evening was amazing. Just that sunset over the beautiful mountains was incredible.
I hadn't seen the sun in so long. I forgot what it looked like. It was awesome to see. Now, coming up at T minus 43 minutes, we are going to listen in to the NASA Launch Manager poll. The NASA launch manager for today is Tim Dunn. He will be conducting his poll. Just ahead of that poll, we were listening to the nets as we were talking about the weather. We did have the Science Mission Directorate give their poll. They're overlooking the spacecraft, and that means that those people who are working on the spacecraft, all the teams that are working on the spacecraft, especially the team here, is good to go to start up with propellant load, which is a major milestone.
Yes, and it's also significant because this is at the point where we set our T0 time officially. After this point, once we get all those goes, there's no backing out of propellant loading.
And that starts at T minus 35 minutes. As you mentioned, when they give that poll to go, it is going to lock it in. Sentinel-6B, once it gets into space, will join a number of other ocean observing satellites. A couple of them are Sentinel-6A, which was renamed Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich, which again, as I mentioned, launched 5 years ago, almost to the day 5 years ago from right here at Vandenberg Space Force Base. It was a spectacular launch. It was during the day, and the weather was crystal clear and beautiful. One of the most clearest days I've ever seen here at the local area. And I showed you a little bit of that launch broadcast.
Yes, and if memory serves me right, you were able to actually watch it take off and then watch that booster return back to the landing site here.
Yeah, that was something special. Going back a little further, Jason 3 is also still up there in the orbit that Sentinel-6B will be going into, along with SWAT. So you've got Sentinel-6B seeking to join that caravan of satellites, which has got to make a very careful orbit insertion to get in there.
Yes, and so that trajectory was actually designed specifically for that purpose, to ensure that Sentinel-6B joins that caravan of long and rich history and heritage of these sea-level measuring satellites. It's going to be about 30 seconds following Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich in the orbit.
Right, we're just a few seconds away now from getting the...
Momentarily, I'll be conducting the propellant and launch readiness poll. Just to give a summary of where we are this evening, I will recap. We had good collision avoidance report and made our entire 20-second launch window available. So we have adjusted the T0 to the preferred time of 05:21:42 UTC, and we are tracking towards that. Earlier in the countdown, we did have vessels in the payload fairing recovery ellipse. They are now deemed not a concern for launch, so we are no longer tracking that. Weather continues to be a watch item, but it's been trending favorably. Our probability of violation in weather is now down to 10% for thick clouds and cumulus clouds. And so, therefore, we've got a good spacecraft, got a good range, mostly good weather, and a great rocket. So let's conduct this poll and see if we can go put some propellant on board. I'd now like to conduct the propellant and launch readiness poll of the NASA team, beginning with NASA CE.
NASA CE, go.
Copy that, NASA CE. SMA.
SMA is go.
Copy SMA. SMD.
SMD is go.
Copy SMD. NASA MEM.
NASA MEM is go.
Copy NASA MEM. LSP.
LSP is go.
Copy LSP. NLM copies. The NASA team is go for propellant load and launch of Sentinel-6B. NLM out.
And that was NASA launch manager Tim Dunn that just concluded his poll, and it was goes across the board, and that does set the stage for SpaceX to now conduct their poll.
That's correct. And so the Falcon 9 team actually reported here on console at about T-minus 2 hours and 15 minutes. And at that point, they began their final review of the launch vehicle and ground systems. NASA's chief engineer, who today is Akash Vangani, conducted his technical readiness poll prior to T-minus 1 hour, followed by a data review of the stage avionics, guidance, navigation systems, controls, and propellant checkouts. Now that that NLM poll has completed and is go for propellant load, SpaceX will do their technical readiness poll in just a couple of minutes. Prop load should complete at about T-minus 2
performed
minutes.
a clear to launch poll. NLM, are you clear to proceed to the launch auto sequence?
LD, this is NLM. We are go for propellant loading.
Copy that. LDA, is the range ready to proceed?
This is LDA. We are clear to launch.
Copy.
That was the SpaceX launch director conducting his poll. His poll's pretty quick. And so this now sets in motion everything that's necessary to begin the loading of propellants at T-minus 35 minutes.
The propellant loading poll is complete, and we are go for propellant loading. For non-urgent no-go conditions, brief the CE or LD, and they will approve aborting the countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, operators shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence immediately and proceed to the launch abort auto sequence. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands-off and relying on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count.
And the launch director from SpaceX giving a brief after giving the go for propellant load, which again begins at T-minus 35 minutes. This sets the stage for our T0 at 9:21 and 42 seconds Pacific Standard Time. Everything's ready to go, and weather really played a big role in all of this, Nikki, because they wouldn't have given the go to start propellant load if they didn't feel good and confident about the weather right at T0, and that's an indication that we're going to give it a shot.
Yes, and so the past 4 days have been pretty rainy, but prior to rolling out to the launch pad, the team does have launch commit criteria such that they need to ensure that there's no lightning at the launch pad at the time of launch. So we have a lightning monitoring system, which is actually a mission-unique service that LSP provides. Its first use was earlier this year on the SpaceX mission out of this same launch pad in March earlier this year. Prior to this team, the team only relied on that rollout criteria. So while the climate here in Vandenberg is much more mild compared to the East Coast in terms of lightning, the system helps provide a way for the team to gather real-time data should there be any lightning in the area this evening to assess potential impacts to the spacecraft's avionics.
And right now, at the moment, we do not expect to get any lightning with this system. It's less than 10%, according to the launch weather officer. But tomorrow, that changes up significantly, so it certainly is in play. Tomorrow's probability is only 40% go for weather. So, and then our lightning probability rises to 10%. So it's a good thing to have that lightning monitoring system in place. Certainly the spacecraft team, this is something they're watching very closely. I was talking to Parag Vase, the Sentinel-6B project manager based out of NASA's JPL down there in Pasadena, California. And he was telling me that, they don't expect many issues with the spacecraft, but sometimes things in the environment can affect it, and lightning is certainly a big one. This spacecraft is also extremely sensitive to radio frequencies, or RF, so they've gone to great measures to protect that. And in fact, we have a great view of the Sentinel-6 satellite encased inside of its fairing. There it is from the outside. You can see with the Sentinel-6 logo on the left-hand side, encapsulated between those two fairing halves, which SpaceX is going to try to recover. But this is looking inside the fairing halves, and there you see Sentinel-6. That we're looking at it a little bit of skew. The top would be just to the right there, and you were looking at the left side of its solar panel. The end of that solar panel will extend out once they do their solar panel extension, solar array deploy. But there you see it, which we haven't had too many views of the inside the spacecraft before launch before, but what a wonderful view.
Yeah, truly exceptional and really cool to be a part of this long and rich history.
The next milestones that will be significant for this particular shot is when those fairing halves separate and come off, and then, of course, for the separation event itself, which we expect roughly around 57 minutes after T0. We are standing by for the beginning of propellant load here in just a few seconds.
The launch auto sequence has started.
And with that simple call out, propellant load has begun. They have started RP1 flowing into the first stage of this rocket that you see right here. And that first stage, it's one that's flown before. It's got a history, having flown 2 previous missions for SpaceX. In fact, flying one in September and October, and now November. This booster's hitting 1 flight a month.
It's pretty impressive. I think it's a good point to make that this is SpaceX's 500th flight of a flight-proven booster, which is truly incredible.
Yeah, what a milestone that is. They've launched more than 560 Falcon 9s, but that is a big mark that they've flown 500 flight-proven boosters. And tonight it's the turn for Sentinel-6B. We will stand by now for our remaining milestones as we count down through propellant load and down to terminal count at T-minus 10 minutes. This is Mission Directors Center at the Vandenberg Space Force Base for coverage of Sentinel-6B. Sentinel-6B. We are T-minus 25 minutes and counting until liftoff, and you're looking inside the Mission Directors Center, where both Nikki and I were in the upper left-hand corner, along with your mission directors who are filling the room that you see there. The international collaboration for this mission is an incredible one. We have NASA, ESA, we have NOAA, we have EUMETSAT, and CNES out of France. You're looking now at the European Space Operations Center in Darmstadt, Germany. They will be taking over control of the Sentinel-6B satellite, bringing it online, searching for the acquisition of signal, and then making sure that they raise it to the proper orbit. In the meantime, they are watching along with the engineering team that is here. You have the operations team, which is right there in that room that you see there. And then we have the operations team, the engineering team, if you will, that is here in Vandenberg, that has been closely monitoring the Sentinel-6 satellite as it prepares for launch. We see Janet Petro in the second row. To the far right, our center director for the NASA Kennedy Space Center. Our friends from ESA also here. The ESOC will hand off the Sentinel-6B to EUMETSAT once they have it fully operational. And of course, EUMETSAT will get that data out to the rest of the world, that critical data that this spacecraft is become famous for. Incredible accuracy with determining the height of our oceans.
Yes, and that really helps inform our daily forecast that we get. If you're like me and you check the weather every single morning when you're trying to decide what you're going to wear, you check that weather, right? And so a lot of people rely on this data.
It can also be critical for severe weather, as it plays a critical role in the formation of hurricanes, being able to track and predict with greater accuracy the impact that these hurricanes can have on land. The spacecraft engineering team has a number of cameras that they're looking at for today, many of them based at the bottom underneath the launch pad, and that's where they can see their equipment that shows how they get switched on internal power when they go to the battery power on board the spacecraft. It's a big moment to come off of shore power, which is the power on land, to then switch to internal. The spacecraft team likes to have those batteries charged up as much as possible so that when they go into orbit, should they not get the signal right away, they can keep operating until they do get the signal. But they do very much, get those batteries charged as much as possible before they switch over to internal power.
Yes, and like you were saying, that switch over is just basically the spacecraft no longer relying on the ground systems for that power. As you just mentioned, the spacecraft is able to rely on its own internal power at this point.
All right, we passed into loading of helium on board the Falcon 9 rocket. The helium, of course, used to pressurize the propellant tanks to be able to push that propellant through the engines so that it can burn. Coming up at T-minus 20 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll start chilling the strong back so that we can load those propellants into the second stage.
Yes, and we're going to see the effect of that on the second stage when those tanks start venting.
Stage 2
lots.
RP1 load is complete.
It's much warmer here in Vandenberg than it's going to be inside of those tanks. So as a result, we're going to see that gas boiling off and venting out of the system in order to maintain the tank's pressures.
And there you see it venting out. The beginning of the chilling process of the strongback to load that super chilled liquid oxygen into the second stage. You're watching live coverage of Sentinel-6B. This is the Mission Director Center at the Vandenberg Space Force Base. As part of a global effort, Sentinel-6B will keep the long-running measure of sea level on track. Let's take a closer look now at its real-world impacts.
Sentinel-6B is this really exciting high-tech satellite mission where we're measuring the height of the ocean from space. If we think about shipping, national security, fisheries,
And Sentinel-6B will get there by riding on this Falcon 9 rocket, which just passed through another milestone, and that is the beginning of Stage 2 LOX load. Again, Stage 2 LOX load beginning at T-minus 16 minutes and 45 seconds. We hit that just almost a minute ago. We are complete with loading propellant in the RP-1 in the second stage, and we continue to load LOX in the first stage and propellant in the first stage as well. We're rapidly moving down to our terminal count, which kicks off at T-minus 10 minutes. This is the Mission Director Center at Vandenberg Space Force Base for coverage of Sentinel-6B. A little bit about the spacecraft flying today. Sentinel-6B is about the length of a pickup truck. It flies 830 miles above the Earth, about 1,200 kilometers, circling the planet about 13 times a day at over 16,000 miles an hour. In about 10 days, it covers nearly 90% of our oceans. And it does so with that 66-degree tilt, that inclination that allows it to make those sweeping observations. Power for Sentinel-6 comes from 4 solar panels that feed a 200 amp hour battery built from more than 1,100 lithium-ion cells. And so if you think about that angle of inclination, that 66 degrees, if you imagine the globe, you were to put a rubber band around the equator, and then you were to tilt it 66 degrees, and then spin that globe, that's the coverage that this satellite and the 3 other ocean-observing satellites cover. That's how they get that 90% of the ocean. The only thing that's left out are the polar caps, where, of course, we don't have a whole lot of ocean up there, so it's not as much of a problem. We're continuing to mark the milestones as we count down to our T0 of 9:21 and 42 seconds. Now sitting at T-minus 12 minutes. We started loading locks on the second stage. And a little bit deeper into the count, we've got some other major milestones.
Yeah, coming up at about T-minus 7 minutes, we will be in the terminal count and hear that engine chill has begun on the first stage.
You said 6-7, and I started waving my hands, just for the record. The payload, of course, is Sentinel-6B, and it's joining that global network known as the Copernicus program that's been tracking ocean and atmospheric weather since 2014. And it builds on the long-term global sea level data that began in 1992 by the French-U.S. Topex-Poseidon satellite. And that was then followed by the Jason series of satellite missions.
The data that we receive from these satellites helps to develop the models that drive every modern weather forecast. Agencies such as NOAA use this data to refine storm and climate pattern predictions.
And we just got a call out that the spacecraft is on internal power. It's a little early, but obviously that's something that they calculated. Eventually we go to internal power for both the spacecraft and the rocket.
Continuing on with information about Sentinel-6B, the data from the spacecraft and all of the satellites prior to this one guide SpaceX meteorologists in deciding when to launch, where to land, and how to plan logistics around shifting conditions worldwide. Space systems like the Copernicus program that you just mentioned help connect life on Earth, making life more resilient and safer for us, especially around natural disaster events.
We're inside of T-minus 10 minutes and counting. A quick recap if you're just joining us. We had an improvement in the weather forecast for today's launch, going to 90% go for weather after looking at a number of low pressure systems that had been bringing a lot of rain to the area. In fact, some record amounts of rain. But that cleared out in time for our launch weather officer to give us the green light for both weather and the range. Teams came on console a number of hours, several hours before today's T0. We got our COLA report and then the NLM poll at T-minus 43 minutes, and that kicked off our tanking at T-minus 35 minutes, and we've been loading propellant since. We're starting to get down into the final milestones before liftoff. We just heard from the spacecraft team that we are on internal power for Sentinel-6B, located inside those fairing halves that you see there at the top of the rocket. And as we approach these final minutes, we have a number of milestones that are coming up.
That first milestone that's coming up is T-minus 7 minutes. When we reach that point, we are then in the terminal count, and Falcon 9 will begin engine chill. Prior to any propellant flowing, the plumbing on the engines are chilled down, and this just prevents any thermal shock of the system when the cryopropellant liquid starts flowing at a higher flow rate. If you think about it like a glass cup, and you pour very cold liquid in that, if that glass cup is at room temperature and you just shock that cup with the cold liquid, it could crack. The same thing is being done here.
That thermal conditioning is important, as you mentioned, for all aspects, especially the engines when they're getting ready to fire up, but we also pre-chill the lines. SpaceX has also upgraded their ability to recycle a count out here by improving their LOX farm. They can now do 3 consecutive launch attempts in a row if needed. Hopefully we won't need it and we'll get it off today.
Engine chill.
And there's the stage 1 engine chill that you mentioned. Now at about a minute, RP1 loading for the first stage will wrap up, completing the fuel side of the propellant equation for the booster. SpaceX uses RP1, which is rocket-grade kerosene. And then for liquid oxygen, that's the oxidizer. Those are the primary propellants.
That LOX propellant is chilled to just under negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Because the propellant has to be so cold, it is loaded later in the count. This is intentional in order to load denser propellant. The denser the propellant, the more propellant you can fit in the tanks. The more propellant you have, the more propellant that you fly, that means the more performance you get. If for any reason we are unable to launch today, which we are not expecting that, those propellants would need to be chilled back down again before our next launch attempt.
After 3 launch attempts, SpaceX would then go to 1 day off and then another attempt after that day, and they would alternate if it came to that. But we are green across the board today, so we're not expecting to have to explore any of those options. T-minus 5 minutes, 27 seconds and counting. Up next, looking to start pressurizing the tanks for strong back retract.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
That strong back, which is giving the rocket its support right now, also known as the transporter erector, it's going to start retracting from the rocket here at T-minus 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so in just a few seconds. That truss structure is hinged at the base. It has clamp arms around the second stage that open
Strong
slowly.
back retract has started.
there go the clamp arms, opening up, releasing the rocket. And now we have the final NLM poll.
LD?
Yes, LD. NASA is go for the Sentinel-6B launch.
Copy all. Good news.
And there you have it. NASA Launch Manager Tim Dunn giving the final go as we count down to the final minutes before the liftoff of the Sentinel-6B satellite riding a Falcon 9 rocket. You see the strong back fully angling back. It's a good visual indication that we are right on time.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And as we just heard, Stage 1 LOX load has completed, and this completes all prop loading on that booster. Both fuel and LOX tanks are pressurized using helium. So in flight, that helium just helps push propellants down inside of the tanks and into the engines.
T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds and counting. At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will enter startup. At that point, the rocket's onboard flight computers take over. From there on out, the countdown is fully autonomous. Just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, the 9 Merlin 1D engines will ignite. And once they're at full power, Falcon 9 will lift off the pad and begin its climb to orbit. After engine start, Falcon's vehicles are held down until all systems are go.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And there we have it. Stage 2 LOX load has completed. And that concludes Stage 2 prop loading entirely. And as we can see now on the live video feed of the Falcon 9 rocket standing proud and tall, you can see white gas venting from the rocket. That gas is not smoke, Daryl. It is actually oxygen venting from the tank, maintaining those tank's pressures. We just heard the call out for gas closeout. It's beginning. This just means that the tanks will be topped off and the vents will be sealed to maintain tank pressure. Let's listen in for that confirmation that Falcon 9 startup has begun at T-minus 1 minute.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
At this point, the autonomous flight computers have taken over the launch countdown, and stages 1 and 2 are pressurizing for launch.
LD is go for launch.
We just heard the SpaceX launch director give the final go.
All systems are go.
T-minus 3 seconds.
The range is green. Weather is green. The final seconds of countdown.
T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Sentinel-6B.
Sentinel-6B rising, extending nearly 4 decades of the precise sea level record from space.
Falcon 9 booster is currently firing all 9 of those Merlin engines at 190,000 pounds of thrust per engine, and we can hear it, and soon we're going to feel that in our chest. So exciting. After about 50 seconds, those engines will begin throttling down to slow down the vehicle to prepare for max Q. Think of it as kind of like a low-key fire. Max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, is when Falcon 9 will feel the largest structural load of the vehicle that it's going to see during its entire boost phase of flight. Slowing down the vehicle just means that Falcon 9 is going to experience a less load.
Now traveling faster than the speed of sound, preparing for max Q. Now we have a few events coming up in quick succession, starting with main engine cutoff, or MECO. That's when SpaceX will shut down all of its 9 engines on the first stage.
Shortly after MECO, stage 2 will separate from the inner stage in the booster, and then the second stage is going to continue on, igniting the Merlin vacuum engine. We're going to hear the call out for that second engine start 1, or SES1. That burn should last just under 6 minutes.
A lot of clouds in the area, so our ground shots not able to pick up that traditional flight into the night sky, but we are looking right down the barrel of the first stage with the onboard camera. Again, the clouds not enough to stop launch, but certainly from a low pressure system in the area.
Main engine cutoff.
Standing by for main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition. Stage 1 boost back startup.
That was a beautiful light up of the second stage, and you're looking now getting ready for the fairings to come off. That's our next big milestone. Confirmed. And there go the fairings. You see now Sentinel-6 exposed to the elements of space. Now soaring towards orbit, another step complete in our ongoing effort to understand Earth's heartbeat through its oceans.
Back shutdown.
We're 50 seconds into the second stage first burn. And now the first stage booster basically hitting the brakes by firing 3 of its 9 engines to reverse course and head back down towards the landing zone.
This burn that we're seeing here of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine will last just under 6 minutes. This will take Sentinel-6B to its parking orbit. That's going to be followed by a 45-minute coast, where we're just going to allow and rely on orbital mechanics and physics to take the spacecraft the majority of the rest of the way. This is the exact same flight design and trajectory that we flew back in 2020 on Sentinel-6 Michael Freilich.
Today's first stage booster heading back down to the landing zone, which was formerly the Space Launch Complex 4 West. It's just about a quarter of a mile from the launch pad. So if you're in the area, you will expect to hear the double sonic boom once it breaks the sound barrier on the way back down. We have 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in this first burn. We're at T plus 6 minutes and 15 seconds into flight. First stage entry burn, just a minute away. The Falcon Stage 2 rocket and the Sentinel-6B now racing southward across the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Baja California, Mexico. A few seconds away now from the first stage entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there we have it. That first stage entry burn has just begun. That landing burn,
Stage 2 is
it's
in
going to last about 25 seconds. That burn just helps reduce the speed of the vehicle to ensure a softer touchdown of the booster. Falcon 9 is using a few of the Merlin engines and 4 grid fins to help guide and orient the booster on its way down.
Stage 1 entry
Those
burn
4 grid fins are out. And the burn is complete.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
It's awfully dark out there, so we don't have a lot of illumination. But when they do light those burns, we get a good view. So look at our ground track.
MVAC shut down.
And we should be coming up on the end
Nominal
of our
orbit
burn.
insertion.
There you heard
Stage
it.
1 transonic. Stage 1 FTS is saved. Stage 1 landing burn.
A good first burn. Now here comes the booster. Back down on land. We just heard a big sonic boom here in the broadcast booth. The landing pad coming into view, 4 landing legs extended. And there you heard it. The booster, its job complete, back on land, and ready for another flight.
My goodness, Daryl, that never gets old.
That was really loud. That was pretty awesome. We hear cheers from the folks at the Mission Director Center who all ran outside to try and get a glimpse of the rocket. They may not have seen it, but they certainly heard it, felt it, and they definitely heard and felt that sonic boom for the first stage coming back down. So now the second stage, you're looking at the Sentinel-6B riding on top of the second stage, will coast for about 44 minutes. And then we'll go to a second burn of that MVAC-D engine, only about 11 seconds or so. And that'll be followed by a big moment, the separation of the Sentinel-6B from the second stage rocket. How you feeling so far, Nikki?
Oh, man, I feel great. This is incredible. I'm just so honored and humbled to be here, be a part of this rich and long history. Very cool moment. Like I said, it just never gets old, feeling and hearing those sonic booms, hearing our partners run outside and cheer for that incredible moment.
and there's plenty of work to go. As we continue, we will monitor the progress of the coast phase and bring you some videos to tell you a little bit about Sentinel-6B and its mission. We hope you stick around. And then ultimately, that deployment about 42 minutes from now. You're watching live coverage of Sentinel-6B. This is the Mission Director Center at the Vandenberg Space Force Base.
Bye.